So now we're recording. Here we go. We got Lane Mallet and Uma Shankar here with us
Yeah.
today. Lee cannot be here with us here today. He's
in Phoenix.
a church thing,
In Phoenix?
being a pastor.
Oh yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's at 6 p.m. there, so it's 1 hour ahead, so it's 7.
Yeah. It's just a little later.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. All right. So this week we're gonna be talking about kind of parties and basically like just things that happen at parties, how to avoid conflicts and how to avoid getting into situations that you don't necessarily want to be in at parties. Obviously, if you have any questions, just let us know and we'll kind of take it from there.
Yep.
Yeah, I like to think of it as a slippery slope, right? When you come to parties, like one decision could lead into another decision, which leads to another decision, and a snowball effect. And next thing you know, you got a girl pregnant. So, what are some of the steps that when you guys think about when you go in a party, like what are you trying to do? Just have some good fun time, trying to hook up? What's your motivation going into parties?
Honestly, going to parties, I kind of just walk in empty-minded. I mean, I don't have a normal or like a set idea of what I want to do, It's not like I go in with a plan.
Do you set yourself any boundaries? Like, okay, if this and this happens, I'm out. Or this is if someone pulls out a gun, I'm out of here. Or someone, dealing with some heavy drugs or something that you're not comfortable with, you out. Where do you draw the line? Is that something that you even think about when you go in a party?
Yeah, I mean, there's certain situations where I'm sure everybody would be like, okay, I don't want to be here. Like for example, like you said, pulling a gun. I mean, I've been to a couple where somebody like gets in a conflict and then gun threatens, and I mean, obviously that's not fun,
right?
And it's kind of pointless, and it just ruins the whole mood.
Experience.
But yeah,
Absolutely.
The whole like situation that you just get put in almost starts to cave in on itself.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly.
Like it just gets darker and darker.
Well, what you have to understand when you have parties, you have a lot of factors going in. Okay, number one, you got raging hormones. Okay, you're young, you got hormones flowing through you, and those hormones get exacerbated by the influence of drugs or alcohol, and so you're basically taking something that's already on edge. And then you're throwing fuel. Yeah, absolutely. You're throwing fuel to the fire. You're like, hey, that flame is 10 feet. Let's make it 100 feet. And the decision gets poorer and poorer the more compromised you are in your decision making because of these factors. And so where you normally won't make these decisions in a situation where you're already compromised because of influences or the situation, it gets out of hand.
Yeah, just like what you're going into, what you expect, it's just not going to be. Your expectations are one thing, but it's never going to end up being exactly what your expectations are.
Mm-hmm.
Like you think you're fine. That's how we all feel like we're going to be fine in those certain situations, but it's always going to get either carried out of hand or it's not going to be exactly how we expected it to be.
And I don't think you can ever really calm a situation in those. Like I've yet to see a party where something escalates and it gets de-escalated. It seems that it always gets out of hand.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, very rarely have I seen it, unless it's like a chill, like something like this where we're just hanging out, just throwing back a few. It's totally different. But when you have like music and you have raging hormones and you got testosterone,
people
flowing,
you don't know.
And yes, people you don't know, people you can't control.
Right.
You may have a pool involved. You may have, empty rooms involved. There's just so many ways it can get out of hand. But let me ask you guys a question, because you guys go to private school, you go to public school. There's always this persona of the private school kids, or at least Christian school kids. Their parties are different than public school kids. What can you tell from your experiences without putting you guys on blast? Like, what are some of the things that you notice in private school that you're like, okay, this is kind of unique to us?
What do you think?
I gotta think about this one for a second. It's hard to pick something off like the top of the head.
I think there's a bad stigma that a lot of private schools don't really have a whole lot of stuff going on at them.
But it seems to be more, right?
Yeah, I would almost say that I feel like there's definitely more than people think.
And what do you think that is? Because of the affluence of the kids?
Yeah, I think it can have something to do with the money and stuff like that, but
Mhm.
also just the attitude of people.
Right.
I think the attitude is a lot
Entitlement.
different at private school than it is at public school.
In what way?
I feel like a lot of people at private school think they're better than everybody else.
Yeah, I mean, I used to get that same thing, but I mean, honestly, like I said in my testimony, I mean, when I first like started coming here, I was like, I don't even want to step foot in this church. Like everybody here goes to private school, they're gonna be like, oh, this kid's probably poor. But no, I didn't get that vibe at all. Everybody's actually really nice at Concordia. Obviously, you're gonna have your select few that is gonna brag about their money and brag about their cars and everything, but it's pretty rare to find that. I haven't really dealt with that with y'all or with private school kids in general.
So give me a little layout of the public school kids. What are they rolling up in?
Car wise?
Yeah.
Like, is that what you actually meant? Like rolling up?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, it's like a.
It's a wide spectrum,
Yeah.
right? You got kids coming in with
it's
like
it's probably
souped-up
just like
trucks
yeah.
all the way down.
It's
to
just like Concordia. F-150s and Jeeps are probably number one. Everybody has a
Yep.
Jeep. Everybody has a
Yep.
F-150. Everybody has a Honda Accord.
right.
But then there's somebody pulling up in like a 84 Volvo. You know what I'm saying?
Don't judge. I got a 91 Volvo, bro.
I just pulled a brand out, but yeah, it varies.
does,
It's
yeah.
not a normal or a set car range, but we definitely don't have any G wagons or any.
Yeah.
I
Oh,
didn't
we
even
have
know
one
what that
kid.
was till I came to Concordia. To be honest,
A
man.
G
It's
wagon.
like, what the heck is a G wagon? And why is a 16-year-old kid
Looks like
driving a G wagon? Like that's a $90,000 vehicle, bro.
At least
Yeah.
without all the add-ons.
Like why? But that's not my place to question you.
So,
Yeah.
Lane, question for you. What is the difference between a private school and a public school party?
Is there a difference?
Yeah.
Yeah. Pretty much every single public school party I've ever been to has, I mean, believe it or not, I like going to private school parties more than I like going to public school parties because, not even joking, every single public school party that I've been to has gotten the cops called on and has gotten, like, something happens, the parents come home, the cops come, and then you're out here rushing, and then you have to deal with the situation of, well, there's people who drove here who drank, and then the cops come and they have to flee. So then you get stuck in that situation, and it's just not good. I mean, and then there's, like, with the public school ones, there's a lot of people you don't know who end up showing up. There's a lot of people, like, I could go to a party and then see somebody I completely hate, and then we end up, like, having a conflict. It's just not fun. But with the private school parties that I go to, it's pretty much just like a group of people that I know. It's not a group, it's a lot of people, but like I've never
People you know more.
Yeah.
So you want to say like you know most of the people like public
Yeah.
school parties. It's
Yeah.
like it's anyone and everyone pulling up.
yeah, like
Gotcha.
yeah, 100%. But
That makes sense.
there's definitely a difference when it comes to like I feel a whole lot safer, I would say, at a private school party. But I mean that's not always the case. Like let's say a private school party was in like a strict neighborhood or like a neighborhood with neighbors that aren't cool. I mean,
Mhm.
the same thing is gonna happen.
Right.
But also most private school parties I've been to, they're pretty rich, so like they don't really have neighbors that
Yeah.
do that. That's also that factors in too, because public school everybody lives in a neighborhood. Like there's gonna be neighbors right next to them, and so I mean I'd probably call the cops on kids if they were being loud and I was trying to sleep, but I've never had to deal with that at a private school party.
I think it's an interesting point that I want to go back to that you brought up, Lane. The decision to drive while under influence, you know, those are kind of those choices you make that can have very catastrophic impact. And do you put yourself in those situations? I mean, do you go to a party knowing you have to drive home? And if you do, does that change the way you consume? You know?
Yeah.
Or do you plan on just crashing there? You know?
Yeah, that's what I mean, I've done that. I've planned on just crashing there, but it's like you can't just expect to be able to crash there if you don't know the person like that.
Right.
So like I honestly never drive to parties. I don't drive. I usually
Get a ride with someone that you trust.
or
That
Uber.
yeah.
Or Uber.
I think that's the great thing that that exist in your time compared to my time.
Oh yeah.
I mean, we'd had taxis and stuff, but no one can call a taxi to come get you.
Yeah.
Right.
I remember a lot of my experience with parties where you just walk home because it's close by the school or whatever, or wherever the neighborhood is. So you just walk home, or you just crash there. But now you have the option of Uber and Lyft, so definitely protects you more.
Uma, from like a parent standpoint, what are kind of like your, not necessarily boundaries, but your guidelines for like a party? Like what?
If I was hosting one,
Yeah. What
I
do
don't
you
know.
feel
I've never
comfortable
had
with?
to host a party with teenagers. Partly because I don't think my boys have been interested in that. Um, I don't know. I would encourage having a party that would potentially have drugs and alcohol.
Yeah.
I think that's a big no-no when it comes to boundaries. Um, at the same time, not judging other parents who do that, because you know, to each their own in that
Right.
respect. But yeah, if I was to host a party with teenagers, it's going to be definitely within certain parameters where none of those situations,
Right.
are there. If they get older, if my son is 21 and he decides to have a party, that's a different situation.
Right.
And if that's the case, then we'll take their keys and make sure that they're staying the night.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Now, as far as my kids going to party, I just ask them to be smart,
Right.
make right choices.
Actions have consequences.
Absolutely. And so, as a parent, I'm not like drilling them. I'm never like, okay, who's going to be there? Parent. I mean, I trust my boys enough. I know it's a conversation we have on a very regular basis. Trusting them. I have this policy with my kids. That if you're in trouble, no matter whatever the trouble is, just call me.
Right.
I want to be the first person you think of. Whatever, you're in an accident, whatever it is, call me, because I'll be there right for you. 24 hours later, we'll have a conversation about what led
Right,
to
right.
that. But at that moment, I'm going to be your biggest advocate. And I say that to any of my high schoolers. Like, if you are in a situation that you are compromised, you can't get an Uber, whatever it is. I mean, you're in a very compromised situation. You need a ride, whatever. You need bail out of jail, and I've done that before. I'm there. I want to make sure that students and kids understand that to have an adult in your corner who's not going to provide any judgment at the moment.
Right.
Now, there's going to be consequences. I mean, your parents are going to have to deal with you and all of that stuff. But in the moment, understand that you got at least someone in your corner, so to speak.
Right.
And part of that has to do with understanding that Jesus is always in our corner, no matter what. He's got our back, and I say that not as in the literal Jesus is going to be there during those moments, but instead I trust that Jesus is with each one of you guys. If you're walking with the Lord, you have to understand Jesus is with you at the moments, and there's that conscience that goes in the back of your head, right? There's that voice, like, man, this is risky. And some of us tend to ignore that voice.
Right. Should you be fearful going into a party?
No, I don't think so. Now,
should be
you have to know
aware.
your boundaries and know your limitation.
You got to be aware.
Yeah. Now, you can't go in a party never having drunk before and say, "Oh, I'm gonna get drunk," and you don't know where it is.
Right.
You got to definitely protect yourself. As men, you got to protect yourself. From putting yourself in very compromising situations, especially with either driving after the fact or with women, because your actions can be perceived differently. And when you're inebriated, you can perceive other actions differently.
Right.
For example, you could see a girl who is maybe drunk too, who has struggling to figure out what she's doing in the moment, and you think that she's making an advance on you, and so you proceed, and you put yourself in a very compromising position. Maybe she has no clue that she was, and vice versa.
Right.
Girls have to protect themselves too from predators, and there's going to be predators. Every one of those parties will have predators, because those are situations ripe for taking advantage of someone. And so I think you got to really watch out because of the consequences. But don't go with fear. Just be smart. And again, I'm not encouraging folks to go and party and get drunk and drugged up, but I'm just talking about the reality. It
Right.
exists, right?
Right.
And so if you know there's going to be something at the party and you know you're susceptible to making poor choices, walk away.
Yeah.
Just walk away. But if you know you can go in and you can handle your stuff, then
Be smart about it.
Yep.
Right.
Know your limitations.
absolutely.
Arjun, are there any comments coming in? Any questions?
Seems like we have a quiet audience today.
Yeah.
Dry bones, dry bones.
Dry bones.
So go back to like something you said a little bit earlier. With you said you're gonna be there. You want to be the first one for your kids.
Right.
Not everyone has those kind of parents that want to be there for their their kids.
Mm-hmm.
So what would you recommend for someone that, like they know that they want to call someone, but they don't know who
Find
to
that
call.
adult in their life.
They gotta find
Absolutely
that adult.
find that adult.
Yeah.
I encourage my kids all the time. I'm like, I know I have high school students that I invest in. I have all these different groups that I'm either part of, I mentor and stuff. And my boys have seen that over the years. This is not my first rodeo. I've done this for 15, 20 years. And what I want them to know for themselves is they need to find their person. Okay, and my oldest has a couple people that he can call up anytime he's in trouble. I think Arjun's got a couple people. And then whenever he's in trouble, or whenever he feels like, but we have a good relationship, and I want to be one of those people, but I'm not going to feel upset if he picks someone else at that moment, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
But speaking of kiddos who don't have those kind of parents, find that adult. Find someone that you absolutely respect and you trust them. This is a huge part of that, is trusting them. And if you can trust them and you can respect them, then you can share, like, I want you to be my person. I want you to be the person, and hopefully God will protect that relationship.
Mm-hmm. Find that person.
Yeah, it's pretty important.
Yeah, you got to have someone you can rely on in that time of need, I guess you could say. It might be difficult for that person, but like for the person that's like gonna be leaned on type deal, but it's the kind of thing you got to be there for.
Right.
Otherwise, something bad could happen.
Yep.
In that time.
And I think we all need that fallback person, right? The fall guy kind
Mhm.
of thing. It's like someone who's. I remember when I was a high school teenager, I grew up alone. I didn't have my parents around me, and so I automatically became the fall guy. So whenever my friends got in trouble, I would be the blame. Like, why is there alcohol? And I was like, Uma left it here. Or why is it like Uma? Just blame it on Uma. But it was more than that too, because I also knew that if they ever needed help with whatever, if they ever needed someone to be on this side, I was that friend for them. And so I had buddies who would, get in trouble with their parents, and they knew, till things calmed down, they could always crash with me and hang out with me and stuff. So find that person that you can trust. That's a great question, and to be honest,
Good question.
sorry. Right. So when someone ODs, and people going through that experience is unique in itself. Like not everyone has the same kind of like OD reaction, but you're gonna notice if someone ODs. Just understand 1, 2 things. You gotta get 911. Like, don't think you can fix it. A professional needs to be there. Many of us have CPR training throughout. I think high schoolers, that's part of your, if you got a job, whatever. Am I wrong at that? Do you guys?
I don't.
No,
You
I
don't
don't have.
None of you guys have?
Nope.
Okay.
Looks like we're screwed.
Call 911. Call 911.
Yep.
To
3 numbers.
That's number 1. Number 2, you got to make sure family's contacted. Whether or not you know that child is going to get in trouble, you got to let family know, because they are the ones who are going to have to make that decision on what needs to happen, okay?
Yeah.
You don't want to be the one trying to protect. Oh my! I don't want my friend to get in trouble. No,
Yeah.
call the
And
parents.
then you'll get in
Call-
trouble too.
Exactly,
Mhm.
because you can get held liable. So call 911. Have someone call the family members. Do not worry about. Oh my gosh, hide stuff. No,
Yeah.
let it be, and then take the crowd out of there. Let
Mhm.
just one or two people be with the person till the professional gets there. Try to get them there as soon as possible. Get an adult. Call the parent. Call a neighbor. Whatever it is. Go find someone who is an adult that can then take care of the situation.
For sure, the emergency
Yeah,
situation.
I don't think you yourself need to like do anything personally because I don't think you have the training. No matter how much you think you care about this person, you're not going to have the training
Right.
to help someone who's OD'd, both either through drug overdose or someone who's passed out because of alcohol poisoning.
So, do you think that's something that we should be teaching in schools, or is that something that is like not wanted to be taught?
That's a great question. I think how you respond to someone who's ODing or someone who's passing out or something like that, I don't necessarily think it should be taught at school, but I just think those are conversations that need to happen.
Yeah, it needs to be taught.
Just awareness.
Yes, and I don't know what it is because, I know sometimes as a teacher, I'm like, I know I'm supposed to teach certain things based on Texas standards and Common Core and all that stuff, but at the same time, I want to make sure that I'm preparing you guys for the next chapter of your life. In the next chapter of life, this is going to happen in colleges. There's going to be benders. There's going to be parties. There's going to be, not that you don't experience high school, but it takes it to another level, right?
Right.
And so I think it's to have authentic conversations with your teachers and say, okay, and I hope teachers have that authentic conversations with you guys and say, hey, protect yourself. I do a thing with every senior, every class that graduates with the guys that I get connected. I'm looking forward to doing that with you guys. It's just sitting down and going over some of that stuff. Like I went with Justin's class. I sat with them and said, hey guys, this is what, kind of look forward to. Be excited about the experience, but know there's some pitfalls. And just kind of let them know that that's going to happen.
Right.
So
And Lane, kind of a question. So I know we get that at Concordia, but do you necessarily get that at public school? Do you feel that like comfortableness to be able to talk to a teacher about that?
Not at all.
Really?
Not at all. I cannot, in my past 4 years of high school, I cannot name one teacher that I can just go and talk to like that. Parents, yes. Friends with parents, yeah. I have a couple different families that I can go and talk to about anything. But never have I ever had a teacher that I could just like open up and talk about or tell me like. But also, they're pretty strict on the rules with students and teachers talking. So like they're not even allowed to follow us on social media.
Yeah.
We're not allowed to have their phone numbers. We're not allowed to do any of that. So it's not like they could outside of school unless I email a teacher 25 times a day. But no, so I kind of understand that. But I've never.
and I think that's one of the, and we have those same policies and stuff, and something that, I don't obviously follow sometimes. It's on public station. No, I think it's to protect the adult as much as the child, because one of the things that the public sector has to worry about is the liability.
Yeah.
And liability is a huge thing, especially in today's world with all the abuses and all the potential for abuse. And so I think it's difficult to have that kind of connection with your teachers. But I think, honestly, if you do have because there's rock solid teachers in the public school.
Right.
There's some amazing teachers and
Yeah.
some amazing
Yeah, I'm
caring
not
people.
dogging on the public school teachers. I'm just saying it's not like that.
I think the accessibility is a lot harder for them,
Yeah.
which I think shies them from having those kind of
Yeah.
relationships.
But also, yeah. But also, when I don't know about all public schools, but Concordia, y'all basically all grew up together as well.
Yeah,
right? 'Cause,
somewhat.
Like, I'm sure what most of the Concordia teachers go to. Oh well, yeah. There's also Salem and Trinity, and then
I was none of that.
really
I was a complete
Ourselves.
outsider.
sick.
That's the
But
thing though. Like, yeah, it's
Yeah.
it's a smaller school. You
Yeah.
got lot less kids to
teachers don't
kinda-
have to remember that many kids.
Exactly. You see the same face about six
Yeah.
times. You might not see the same face, but maybe once.
Yeah.
It's all
And I
Dude,
about
think
I
that's
s-
one of the strengths of a smaller parochial school versus a larger public school is that the student to teacher ratio allows for those kinds of
Interactions.
opportunities and interactions. You're right. Like I'm blessed in my building, I interact with less than 100 students a day in my class because I have 6 classes and my average size is about 18.
dang.
Okay, your classes are the biggest ones.
I was about to say because it feels pretty big in our
Yeah,
classes.
But then chemistry, I have 13, so it offsets it.
yeah,
And then CSA has 17, 18, so 18, 19, whatever. So it's a pretty small. I know every one of you guys. I recognize you. I have an investor relationship with you. And for those students like Clayton, I've had for 4 years now. Aiden, I've had you for 3 out of the 4
Mhm.
years. So that's very rare. In a public school, you may get a student twice, if that. Once. You're lucky to get every student that goes through a 4-year system at least once. So you know where you're going to invest in it. I'm fortunate I can get to see you guys multiple times. And that's a huge advantage as a mentor to invest in your lives because I know your story. I know your story. I can talk about that when I see you walk in with a different set of like a different emotional level. I can say, "Hey, Aiden, what's going on, man? What's happening in your world?" And we have the kind of rapport that you can say, "Yeah, I'm hurting. Oh, stuff's going on in my world." It's not often that happens in public world.
it just makes it tougher for those kids that go to public school. I'm sure you could say like it's a little bit tougher to maybe find those adult relationships. Maybe
Yeah,
not necessarily
but
outside of school.
yeah,
It probably makes it easier.
but we don't know any different, because I mean
Yeah.
we don't know like let's say I had a public school friend and I told him that like everybody at Concordia was like super close with their teachers and like hung out with them outside of school and everything. They'd be like, "What?" Like they it doesn't hurt them and it doesn't like affect them because they've never known anything different.
It's
Like
every-
it's been
yeah.
the same with elementary, middle, and high school. It's never just been like you could be lenient on a teacher or close with a teacher. It's never been like that. So
Yeah.
but for people who like do communicate with private school kids, like now like every day I go to school, I'm like, dang, like I bet you Clayton's in there making jokes with Uma right now, and I'm sitting here like staring at my teacher while she's doing absolutely nothing. So I mean, yeah, there's definitely a difference.
Yeah. Which that makes sense. Like it's what you've grown up with. It's everything you've known
Mm-hmm.
since like I guess since you could say forever. And it's just like with those kids who go to private school, majority of them gone to private school or parochial school for a long time and like pretty much their whole lives.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's just the way it's like two different things. They're growing up different ways, but end up being the same type people, I guess you could say.
Mm-hmm.
So to kind of take it back to the party standpoint, I kind of had a question, but I didn't really know where to put it. But I guess I'll put it here. So what are your opinions on going like to a party alone, not necessarily going with like friends or like other people?
It's not the best thing to do. I mean, like, so do you mean going alone, period, or like,
Yeah.
Like you're driving by
Like,
yourself.
yeah, driving by yourself, but like
Yeah,
you can
and you
know
don't-
people at the party, or you're saying like just going to a party to where like you're absolutely
Either way.
blindsided.
Either way.
Have you ever gone to a party like where you're just absolutely blindsided though?
No.
Like you usually don't go to someone's house
Yeah,
that you really don't
yeah.
know.
I mean, I'd also go to parties alone. It's just like, but know what you're gonna do if you're gonna go alone.
Right.
Don't if you know that you're gonna drink, then don't go alone.
Don't
It's
play-
that simple.
yeah.
Or if you know that you're gonna have a ride back, or if you're staying the night, so be it. But no, if you know that you have to go home that night, it's cool to go and socialize. It's like going alone just to socialize, see people you haven't seen in a while. But when it comes to making decisions,
Don't play dumb.
yeah, don't.
You know what you're going there for.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know what you have in mind.
Yeah. Exactly.
Plan ahead, for sure.
For sure.
Are there any more questions?
Man, slow night, slow
Yeah.
night.
Mhm.
What are you thinking, Uma?
I'm just chilling, man.
Got anything else resonating?
Oregon's girls losing.
Yeah, they are. Well, the boys are losing.
Oh, the boys.
No, I'm actually, I'm trying to reflect on the boundaries that, and the vulnerability that people put with each other, right? And I think Lane brought up a good point. Like, don't put yourself in a situation like, where you know there's going to be risk involved, and amplify that risk with the choices you're going to make. I think that's the important thing, is to make sure that whatever risk you're willing to take, the consequences, you thought of them.
Yeah. One thing that I see all the time is it's not just the part of going alone, but there's kids whose parents are kind of like naive, so they don't know that the kid's going to
Yeah.
drink and all that. And so let's say that the kid went to the party, drank, thinking that it would be cool that he stayed the night, but then his parents like, nah, we want you home tonight. What's he gonna do then? Because he can't Uber, because if he Ubers, his parents gonna be like, why didn't you drive back by yourself? Were you drinking? Blah blah blah. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so then they're like, well, I either get in trouble or I take the risk of driving home and hoping nothing bad happens. And so that could be a bad thing also when it comes to kids not like, you know what I'm saying? Like kids not
Yeah,
being
being
honest with their parents.
being open about it.
Yeah.
And I think the thing I would suggest with that is definitely let your parents know,
Yeah. Like say, hey,
and
this is gonna happen.
take the risk.
Yeah.
Take the Uber and take the risk, because it's not worth it.
Right.
Because it's not just your life you're thinking about. It's
Others peop-
everyone
yeah.
between the place where you are and the place where you live. It's every one of those lives. And one of the things I harpen on a lot is you have to understand you have a killing machine when you get behind the wheel.
Mm-hmm.
It's a killing machine. It's built for speed. It's built for power. It's built for hauling humans, whatever. And all it takes is contact going over 35 miles an hour to be catastrophic, to be deadly. That's all it takes, 35 miles. And that's not fast, but it is faster than a human. I mean,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
fast. Okay, 24 is the maximum a human runs. Okay, so we get in a car like, oh my gosh, this is so slow. Well, that is faster than any human body.
Mm-hmm.
What human runs 24 miles per hour?
Cheetah does.
Who was that?
Tyreek Hill on the Kansas
Oh,
City. Yeah.
oh.
But
Goodness gracious.
Boy, moving.
but again, so you don't even have to go 60, 70, 80. But when you're inebriated, your senses and everything is,
You
is
think you're
already
doing good.
yeah. And so you're going to be flying 90, 100. All it takes is one wrong decision.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we were driving here, and we see two cars in the ditch. Where did we see it? Yeah, just on the way. On the way here, we saw it.
Mm-hmm.
There were two cars in a ditch.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
And it happens all the time when you think about the amount of accidents that happen
Yeah.
on the road. So.
And I mean, you think about it, I think the majority of parents can say that they've had some experience in drinking and
Yeah.
doing stuff they're not supposed to, because they were all kids at one point, you know.
Yeah.
So there's definitely that sense of, you could probably tell them, because they'll probably understand to
Yeah.
some extent. Obviously, they'll be mad, but I'm sure they'd rather understand than
Yeah.
not see you.
Yeah,
know.
For sure.
100%.
And ultimately, you have to understand 9 out of 10 times, actually more than that, 99 out of 100 times, your parents want the best for you.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I get it. There's always going to be the exception. But 99 out of 100 times, parents are looking out for you. So,
Mhm.
All right. Are there any last topic? Anything?
Last remarks.
Yeah. Any last questions? Seen
Can
anything?
you read Arjun?
It's like, I don't know what that
Is
says.
that a question, or are you just like
He's lost over there. Oh.
Wow.
Who's,
Tell them,
who-
tell them to ask a question. No, I'm just kidding.
What's the name on it? Oh,
Brett Bean.
Brett Bean. Yeah.
Brett Bean.
No.
You sure that?
Brett's not
it's Brett Bean.
Spanish.
It's Brett Bean. He was.
Yeah.
He's in their class.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He transferred out.
He's a client, I think, right now.
Yeah, he's not Spanish.
I think we
Was
talked
that
about.
Brett?
Yeah, we already talked about
We literally
this.
talked.
Who
Who
We
was
talked
it?
about this. Like,
She
Hannah Pubman.
asked the
she
question.
asked the same question last time.
Hannah, it's not a good
It was
question.
like three,
Hannah,
And
next
I asked a
topics
question
ago.
about real stuff.
we
Yeah,
talked.
yeah.
We
With
talked.
dinosaurs.
About
We
real
talked
stuff.
about that though, Hannah.
Yeah, we explained this.
Yeah, she's trying to put some comedic.
She thinks she's funny.
Yeah.
Mm,
Oh, okay, Lane.
Okay.
how many people are aliving?
Changed my mind.
Just 7.
Oh, there's 7
Man.
people on. So quiet, 7 people.
It's quiet. Very
Yeah.
quiet on a Thursday night.
Yeah, it's what 9:10.
9:10.
My curfew's 2 a.m. No, I'm just kidding.
Is that a self-imposed curfew or an
not
actual curfew?
He said, "I'm playing. I'm playing."
Yeah, no. Jack likes me home around 10:30.
All right. Well, if there's not anything else to say, then I think we'll call it for the week. Thank you for joining in once again, and we'll see y'all next week on Thursday.
If y'all got any suggestions, let us know in the comments. DM us if you have anything else. If you want to do a topic or if you want to be on the live stream / podcast, whatever you want to do. Thank you. Bye.